It's time for the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU, the official local sports show here in Glasgow and Barren County. And now, alongside John Butler, here is your host, James Brown.
Welcome back to the Brown Sports Bag. I know it's not Monday, it's Wednesday, but, couldn't get here on Monday because of the ice. And, frankly, there were more important things for us to talk about here on this radio station than sports because, we had a winter storm that came in and knocked out power for people, and so we wanted to do the best we could to keep everyone informed about those things. So John Butler and I are going to do this show here on Wednesday. Not a whole lot to talk about from this week, and may not be by the time we get to next Monday. We'll have to see how that works out. But, of course, we did have a big basketball game on Friday night between Barren County and Glasgow. And the boys' side, that was the big game because Barren was still trying to see if they could get a 1 seed, and Glasgow was trying to lock up the 1 seed for the upcoming district tournament. And then on the girls' side, the Barren County girls were kind of doing the same thing, but they are in the driver's seat in the district anyway. So, and we'll start with the boys' game because Glasgow ended up winning the game 54-44. It was a pretty close game throughout, although I think Glasgow led by 6 to 8 points pretty much the whole game. And Barren made a run there in the fourth quarter. I think they got within 4, and then Glasgow was able to hit some baskets down the stretch to seal the victory. They're 5-0 in the 15th district now. They have 1 game left against Allen County Scottsville. Maybe it's next week. We'll see. And then Barren County has 2 games left. They're supposed to play Warren East this Friday. That game might be moved to Saturday. We don't know the results of this yet. I guess we shall see. And then, they have a game left against Allen County Scottsville too. Maybe they're supposed to play them next week as well. But anyway, I thought for the Scotties, the bottom line was Jalen Bradley had a great game. He did a good job handling the ball, scoring, and then Landon Minton and Jarek Martin fulfilled their roles that they fulfilled. That's kind of become a 3-headed monster for Glasgow of late, and they've played pretty well of late, John.
Yeah, it seemed like it. I had a Western game that I was doing, so I wasn't there watching every play, but just what I saw on film and things like that, Glasgow went wire to wire.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as close. The first game was overtime in which both teams went back and forth, and actually Barren had the lead late in the game before Glasgow tied it. That really wasn't the case over at Glasgow. And, Jalen Bradley continues his good play. I think he had 18, and Jarek Martin had 12 points, 9 rebounds. And Barren really didn't have a lot of answer for him. I think Barren had to call an early timeout. And I know Coach Cunningham was not real crazy early with the effort, maybe. It's hard to say. When you're playing your rival in front of a big crowd, effort is usually there. But maybe it's energy better than effort. Maybe that's it. But, Glasgow, give them credit. Tremendous turnaround from last year. They will be the number 1 seed no matter what. Barren is going to be locked into the 2 or 3 seed no matter what, and more than likely going to be playing Allen.
Yeah. That's the way it looks right now. And Warren East is by far the 4 in this particular district this year. Right.
And if you just want to rank them just without records, that's where you're going to go anyway.
Yeah, right.
And really just Barren didn't really have a lot of punch. Cade Hardy had a good game. He had 18 points, but really not a lot. Barren made a little bit of run in the fourth. Maybe got it within 4 or 6 or something like that, but I don't.
It may have been 44-40 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
I never really got the impression that the momentum had really swung back to Barren or anything like that. That it's one of those games where sometimes you can see things really begin to change and momentum changes and things like that. I didn't really sense that by watching the film and just watching sometimes just body mannerisms too. Just really didn't see that. And Glasgow to me was better from the start to the finish.
It was that game looked like how the two teams have been playing in the last few weeks.
Fair. I think that's very fair.
Barron's kind of struggled
I think it's
they've really struggled to score.
They've struggled to score,
and Glasgow has not struggled to score at all during this stretch, the last few weeks. And really, it's a combination of you've got a point guard who can score, but also can set up the offense. Inside, Landon Minton has really come along. He's scoring inside, rebounding, and defending. And then, of course, you've got a guy like Jarek Martin who's just roving the court, causing problems wherever he goes.
Well, Glasgow has a lot of different ways to score. That helps them. They have guards that are like Jalen Bradley, who can create his own shot, create shot for others.
Mm-hmm.
They can score. Their best way to score is in transition.
Yeah.
Because they've got, with Martin and Jalen Bradley and some others, they've got some really good quickness and so forth. They can score that way. They have enough three-point shooters now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Jackson Norris and Trace England coming off the bench there.
To go along with Jalen Bradley. So they have enough shooters to be effective if they need that, where you just can't collapse and just guard the lane. They've got some shooters out there. And then you have Landon Minton, who's really come along this year and has played fairly consistently well, scoring, finishing inside, rebounding, and so forth. And obviously Glasgow can guard people. I mean, Jarek Martin can guard anybody from the point guard to the post player.
Right.
Very, very versatile and so forth. So Glasgow they score much, much easier this year than last year. And I really believe they're a top top 5 team in the region for sure. Throwing Warren Central still the top team, though Warren Central did get beat by Bowling Green.
Yeah.
And Glasgow kind of fits with probably the three or four Bowling Green streams. I think Greenwood's good.
Mm-hmm.
South Warren is good. 59-58 over Glasgow, so Glasgow's right there with them and so forth. So I would definitely put Glasgow in the top 5 in the region.
Well, and you mentioned the Warren Central thing earlier last week. Glasgow played over at Warren Central, and that game was a dead heat until the fourth quarter, and Warren Central just kind of blew up from behind the line. They hit, I think, 5 or 6 3-pointers in the fourth quarter and pulled away in that game, but Glasgow was right there with them for 3 quarters.
That's correct.
And so they've kind of proven over these last 3 weeks that they are one of the better teams in the fourth region. And
I agree.
Locking up that 1 seed as down as Warren East is this year, it'd be an awful big upset for Warren East to beat them in the district tournament, which means Glasgow is a team that's a threat in the region. Does that mean they can beat Warren Central? I don't know, but Bowling Green did beat them, and nobody expected that to happen, and Glasgow played with them for 3 quarters, so they might be a team you don't want to see in a regional tournament.
You can't beat them if you don't play them.
There's that.
So you got to get there. That's correct. And all you can do is put yourself in the best position possible.
Right. Meanwhile, going back to the Barren County thing, talking about their offensive struggles, they look like a team that has the ability to score at 3 levels with the inside presence of Gavin Nunn and Jackson Bird maybe cleaning up the offensive rebounds. Cameron Pippin, he's a long kid who can possibly score inside but shoots the 3 pretty well. You got the guards in Weston Shelton and Maddox Griggs, and then Cade Hardy kind of running the show. They just seem to be out of sync the last few weeks. They've been in every game that they've played, with the exception of maybe the Warren Central game. But other than that, they've been right there. They just have not been able to win the games. And even the game that they won last week at Campbellsville, they were big. They were up like 15 or 18 in the second half of that game, and then had to dogfight it out through double overtime to get the win. And so, nothing is coming easy for them right now.
No, they've gone through, and a lot of teams go through slumps sometime in the year, and
January is really rough.
January can be. They've been in a little bit longer slump than I think that Coach Cunningham wants. Probably at least 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's just kind of hard to put your finger on it, other than not consistently scoring. It's just hard to win in the 40s and 50s. You need to be able to beat the really good teams to get up in the 60s and 70s. Now, sometimes you can control the tempo and beat somebody 48, 46, and that can happen.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to score when you need to score.
Yeah.
And that's been a challenge. But listen, they showed enough early in November and December that they're capable of doing that. And sometimes it's confidence. It's a big win here, a loss here. And a big win here, or maybe a loss, but you get beat 73-71 against a good team, and you really, show that. And they have had sickness going around. They had 3 kids out for Camelsville, and so they've had some of that sickness going around. And perhaps this weather issue, in which there's been no school, no practice, no games, a lot of games called off, that may be what they need, a reset.
Yeah.
That's sometimes that happens that way.
Yeah.
But I do have confidence in the guy in charge.
Right.
Coach Cunningham has done this a long time, and he's had teams that have taken a little dip. If you remember last year against last year's team, they were bad early.
Yeah.
Real bad.
They weren't good offensively or defensively.
In fact, they didn't show any of the signs that this team has showed. And this team this year had played much better.
Yeah.
Than last year's team. But last year's team with Tate Spillman and those guys, they found it kind of this time of year when they started really, really playing well. It's after that long football season. They started really, really getting better and went on and had a really good year, knocked off Warren Central in the region. So Warren does know how to, to stick with it and, and to tinker and things like that. So I do think Barron's going to bounce back.
Yeah.
I really believe that in the last 3 weeks that you're going to see that team get better than they've gone through right now.
Meanwhile, in the girls' side, the Trojanettes beat the Lady Scotties. The final score is 81-47, but I will say this. If Glasgow had played several of their games this year as well as they played in the first half of that game, especially the first quarter, they would have a lot more than 4 wins at this point.
It was like 42-32 at half, right?
Yeah. It was 27-20 at the end of the first quarter. Yeah. And, Glasgow, they were moving the ball.
Well, they were making shots.
I think they were making shots because they were making the extra pass, it looked like to me, instead of kind of the ball getting stuck.
Right.
They were hitting people in rhythm, as they say. And that's what it – when I saw them in the preseason and the first couple of weeks of the season, that's what they look like. Like we've talked about before, they don't have a big team, which means they got to be quicker than the other team they're playing. That includes moving the ball and getting to your spots and getting your shots off quickly, right, John?
That's right. No, I thought they played well the first half. Their first quarter and second quarter was 10 times better than about any quarter they've played in the last month, to be honest with you. And now give Barren credit. They came out in the third quarter and just blitzed them.
Yeah.
And
they started running those traps and stuff, and they started getting some easy transition baskets.
Barren put up 81-47. I think it's the first time Barren girls have been in the 80s since 2000 and
since you were coaching.
Maybe it may have been one other time in Piper's career, but I know Piper's team put up that many. And T.J. Thomas's team put up that many in the 80s or whatever. But they had 5 players in double figures. Burton, who's really improved this year, Mihaela, 18, shooting the ball with so much confidence. And Addie Slagle had 15. They had 5 in double figures.
Yeah.
And
that's one thing they've not had much of this year.
They've not at times, but they're capable. And, and what they have done is their three-point shooting has just tremendously improved. They were 12 out of 27. And they've been double-digit in threes several times this year, and that's what makes them, to me, such a dangerous team. Is how well they're shooting, and it's to me that's a great separator in girls basketball. Yeah, is to be able to make shots like that, and so that was a good second half for Barren. I think they were a little disappointed in giving up so many points in the first half, but I think sometimes you give your opponent credit. Yeah. Kayla Kirkpatrick, she's played well here lately, too. She had 18. I think that's 3 or 4 straight games she's been in double figures and so forth. So good performance by her and so forth. But, I think, Barren locked up. I can't say they locked up the first seed. Has Allen only lost once, or is Allen?
I believe Allen's only lost once. They lost the game to Barren.
Okay. Barren and Allen are not going to play in the first round anyway.
No, they're not.
So Barren has moved one step closer to winning that first seed. They still got to play Allen again. But I think Glasgow has something to take out of that, and so does Barren.
Yeah, I think if you are Coach Kirkpatrick, you can show your team the film of that first quarter, especially the first half, and say, if we play this way, we can beat a lot of people.
True.
But we've got to play with selflessness and we got to move without the ball and get to our spots. We can't stand around and watch each other play. And we got to work the ball inside out. We got to do the things that we did in that first quarter. And like I said, when you go back and you watch those first few games of the season, they were playing that well. They were playing that way, and that they were making the shots. And it is easier to play well if your shots are going in, obviously, but I think a lot of times what you're doing to get to your spots for your shots also makes a big difference in how, because you're shooting them in a rhythm. If you're just dribbling and then pulling up and shooting, that doesn't usually work for you unless you're Kobe Bryant or something like that.
Right.
But so I was impressed with the way they played in that first quarter and the first half overall.
And we should mention the Lady Scotties also broke their losing streak on the Tuesday before against Warren Central, 54-36.
Yeah, and they played much better in that game. And meanwhile, going back to Barren, Barren was coming off a game against Campbellsville that they won 58-57.
Had to hang on.
Yeah, they did. Addison McFall made a free throw, missed the second one, and Ashley Atkinson grabbed the rebound, and then that sealed the win over there at Campbellsville. That was a game. They were also up double digits in the second half and had to hang on, like you said.
Had to hang on. And but Campbellsville's got a good team.
They do.
I don't think they're as good as Barren.
They had a big girl that was just killing Barren.
You're not going to play well every night.
No.
And so to get a win at Campbellsville, 58-57, Barren needs tight games.
Yeah.
Regardless of how good the opponent is.
Right.
And I think Campbellsville would probably be in our region, top 4 or 5 in our region.
Yeah.
They're not in that region. 5th region's got more.
They've got some pretty good teams.
They got more depth of teams than the 4th does.
Yeah.
But I just think they need close games. And you got to figure out ways to win close games. So that I thought that was good for Barren.
Well, and like I said, they're supposed to play Warren East. It's supposed to be on Friday night. We shall see if the game is not moved to Saturday. If it is, it'll be 2:00 on Saturday, and then we'll let you guys know, of course, because we'll be broadcasting those games. We'll need to know so we can be there.
Right.
One other thing I wanted to mention before we get out of this segment was talking about the Governa Colonels. Talking about needing a close game, they played Clinton County in the All-A tournament.
In the second round.
In the second round on Friday afternoon. They ended up winning the game 48-46, and defensively, they played well. Clinton's a good team. Defensively, they played well. Offensively, they struggled, other than Jalen Crane, who finished with 23 points and then hit 2 free throws with about, 10 seconds to go. That was the difference in the game. And then they defended the ball out of bounds pretty well, even though Clinton got off a three-pointer. It wasn't a great shot.
I was more surprised with Clinton, to be honest with you. That's a good performance by Clinton.
That team is good, and they've got size, and they have ball handlers all over. And I think they are a threat in the 4th region. Now, do I think they can beat Warren Central? I don't know, but I'd love to see Governa play Warren Central because I think that'd be a heck of a game too.
I do too.
But for Governa, that's a game, going back to what we were just talking about with Barren, sometimes you just need a game that tests whether or not you can finish.
Well, they're going to get plenty.
They will.
In that region. They still have St. X on their schedule. They still have a Dare.
Yeah.
And so
they still got another game with LaRue.
So they got plenty of those games.
Yeah. So I thought it was a good mental test for them to kind of struggle as much as they did offensively and then still find a way to win. They will play in the semifinals on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. against Walton Verona.
Real weird.
Isn't it?
It's real weird. They had to call the Class A off because there's no way for anybody to play Saturday and Sunday down there. They had teams from everywhere trying to get home and so forth. But to shove it back a whole week, 8 days, and try to play 2 games on Sunday, it's not easy to do. I do think Governa is unique in the sense they will be able to practice.
Yeah.
Because the school district where all those kids live is within a mile of the gym.
Right.
They will be able to.
Yeah.
Some other schools, who knows? I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I would not be crazy about sitting out 8 days and going down there and playing 2 games in one day, especially a team without a lot of depth.
Yeah.
That's that. And I know winning a Class A state title will be important to Governa, and obviously they're 2 games away.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have a legitimate chance to win a 5th region title.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting question too for teams. Which would be more important? I've got my feelings on it, but because Governa is probably, now that Lightning, is it?
Yeah, Gavin Lightning, yeah.
Probably now the favorite to win the fifth.
Yeah.
And, who knows how you'll do when you get to state tournament. But if you're good enough to win the fifth, you're good enough to play with anybody.
Yeah, we've had some fifth region teams that have made some deep runs in recent years in the state tournament.
Yeah, and fourth region, obviously.
Yeah, obviously that too.
Yeah.
But I will say this about, like, the comparison of winning a region in All A. I think, historically speaking, winning that region is more important.
I agree.
But I will say this. When you're a school like Caverna, winning an All A and a region are almost the same in certain ways because you have a chance to go to the All A every year at Caverna just because of the way it works out. You do not have much of a chance to win that region every year.
And playing at Rupp.
Yep. And so I think I'm curious to see how it pans out for them, because what has happened is that originally the way that the schedule was working out for them is they were supposed to play LaRue on Friday, Jeffersontown on Saturday, and then go play potentially 2 games on Sunday.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, they've already moved the LaRue County game to the next Friday, February 6th, and they've canceled the Jeffersontown game. And so they are just, I guess what they're going to try to do is go play those 2 games at that All A with a chance to win it. Because, again, this is the thing, when you're at Caverna, winning at region and winning the All A are almost the same in a way, in that you get this chance every 20 years, it seems like, legitimately. And I don't know which way you bank it, but I'm curious to see how they handle it.
Yep, we'll see.
And I think maybe if you're the coach of the Colonels, you kind of look at this All A thing as a test of how well you can prepare day in and day out for a run in a tournament, that regional tournament anyway. It would have been better if they could have done it over 4 days versus
taking
a week off and then 2 days.
8 days off, it's a little,
or 2 and 8 days.
Little different, yep.
Yeah, but I'm still with you. I just don't know. I think if they were to say they would love to be able to do both. But I think if they're going to say we don't care about one, it's going to be that All A final.
Yep.
So even if they beat Walton Verona, who knows how much they'll want to win that championship.
They're going to beat Walter Verona.
Look, I didn't think Walton Verona was going to be Martin County, but
but I think there's considerably better than Walter Verona.
I think the 2 best teams played last Friday. I think it was Caverna and Clinton County. I think they were the 2 best teams in that tournament, from what I've seen.
Okay.
Other teams had good players, but I think those were the 2 best teams.
I don't think the depth was quite as much as in the past, maybe.
No. There have been some teams, like Evangel Christian has a bunch of young players on it.
University Heights was always loaded.
Yeah.
Lexington Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Owensboro Catholic's been really good in recent years before, now that Tim Riley's gone, obviously there's a drop-off.
Right.
They had a good team, but they weren't that good.
Is that who Caverna
beat?
Caverna beat the snot out of them.
There was
on their own. I mean, in Owensboro, which was a really good win.
Yeah, they started the game 10-0 and never looked back.
That's right.
And they were playing. I think the guy who's supposed to be the number 1 quarterback coming back in the class of 2027 next year, Jamel Carruthers.
Yeah.
That dude is like 6'3". He's a good athlete and everything. He found out that if you try to get a rebound from a Martin twin, it's not going to work out for you.
No.
They're going to snatch that ball right out of your hands.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was kind of fascinating. That dude's considered one of the best football players in the state of Kentucky, and he looked all the part except when he was battling a Martin twin for a rebound, and then he's like everybody else.
Yep.
All right, this is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's in Glasgow. We'll be right back.
Welcome home to Local Sports with James Brown and the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU.
Welcome back to the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. James Brown, John Butler here on a Wednesday instead of a Monday just because of the snow. And we get to talk about the NFL playoffs here in this segment because we have a rematch of a Super Bowl between 2 teams who not too long ago got rid of the coaches that did coach those teams. Well, I guess they got rid of them.
They did?
Yeah. Pete Carroll got fired by Seattle, and Bill Belichick was
Gerard Mayo.
I'm talking about when the coaches when Seattle and New England met the last time in the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's Gerard Mayo, he didn't count.
Okay.
the coaches who were there are now elsewhere, and we got 2 guys coaching these teams now. In one case, if you're a Titans fan, you're saying to yourself right now and to everybody who will listen, this is what we've been trying to tell you. If we'd have gotten a front office to get good players, we too could have been the Patriots, because Mike Vrabel is there coaching up the Patriots his first year there, and they're back in the Super Bowl. And they look like the Patriots of the Belichick era.
Sure do.
They are scrappy on defense. Their quarterback's not as clean as Tom Brady was. He makes mistakes, but
second year.
Yeah, well,
Come on.
I mean, Tom Brady was in his second year, wasn't he?
And wouldn't.
I mean, he wasn't Tom Brady yet.
That's right.
The defense was great, though.
No, Tennessee, had the right coach all along.
Yeah, they did.
And I think most people in the industry knew that.
Yeah.
And, owners make rash, bad decisions. Sometimes it's not the coach. It's the personnel that you give the coach.
Yeah.
And, they made a terrible decision in getting rid of Mike Vrabel and probably did him a favor.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Because, now he's back to where he started with better ownership and just, has a better quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
He was winning without a great quarterback at Tennessee. So, that's, bad call, obviously, on Tennessee.
Yep. But good call on Bob Kraft and his folks by getting rid of Gerard Mayo and bringing in Mike Vrabel as soon as they could, I guess. And I will say this: I am not 100% certain how the Patriots win football games, other than they just seem to be slightly tougher than the opposition throughout these playoffs.
Well, I think they're really well coached, and I do think Drake May is really good. They've won 3 playoffs games basically through their defense.
Yeah.
They didn't have to do much to beat the Chargers, because the Chargers offensively were terrible.
Yep.
Same thing with Houston.
Yeah.
Who has a great defense, but their quarterback, C.J. Stroud, fell completely apart. And then against Denver, another team that has an outstanding defense, they beat Denver with their backup quarterback and basically in a second-half blizzard. And their only touchdown they scored was after the backup quarterback, turned it over at the 10 or 11. So they had like an 11-yard touchdown drive.
Yeah.
So they didn't have to do a lot, but they didn't beat themselves either.
No, that's what I mean. They're slightly mentally tougher. They're not making the catastrophic mistakes and their opposition is.
Yeah, most teams. So it seems like in football more so than other sports, it's the bad plays will beat you. Mm-hmm. If you stay away from the turnovers, the fumbles, the penalties, the block kicks. If you just stay away from those things,
punts.
if you just stay away from those things, it's not how many plays you make; it's how many plays that you give to the other team. It's generally, oftentimes, the difference.
It's almost like errors in baseball.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
Right.
It's you might commit an error, but when and where did you commit it?
It's so much different in basketball. I don't think you can win a lot of big games in basketball by not being aggressive, just hoping the other team just turns it over you. You can kind of do that some in football.
Yeah.
Let's don't make mistakes, and we don't get first downs. We'll just kick it away and play good, solid defense. You really can't do that per se in basketball as much. But football, there is a recipe there.
Yeah. Now, my question is, was the Super Bowl actually played as part of the NFC Championship game?
I do think the Rams and Seattle are the 2 best teams.
Yeah.
But I also think New England can beat Seattle.
Yeah.
So, the Rams Seattle was a much better game to watch. Of course, they played in better conditions too.
Yeah. Well, and they have like receivers who do things and things.
And we tend to upgrade offense too.
Yeah, that's right.
It was, Sam Darnold was great for Seattle, threw for 350 and 3 touchdowns, and Matthew Stafford was great, threw for 375 and 3 touchdowns, and the game went all the way down to the last play. Mm-hmm. And it was, exciting and things like that. I mean, those are 2 really, really high-level offensive games. The New England game with Denver was with a backup quarterback. Yeah. And with a second-year guy facing a great defense in basically a blizzard in the second half that kind of limited things. So, their circumstances were much, much different. It's too bad about what happened to Denver, when you don't have your quarterback for the most important game of, the year, the championship game. You don't have that. It's a tough break. And New England did just enough to take advantage of it, but they are by far dangerous enough to beat Seattle.
This was my thing about watching the Seahawks and Rams is, yes, the offensives were better than the two offenses. Even if the conditions had been great, they were still better offenses than the Broncos and the Patriots. But also the thing is that the Rams and the Seahawks have some players who can make big plays. And one of the things that we probably even missed is
they got receivers for sure.
Yeah, well, and the Seahawks picked up Rashid Shaheed, I think at the trade deadline or whatever, back at some point in time.
With New Orleans.
Yeah, and so they got a guy who is a dynamic return man, and they've worked in some plays for him.
No, you got the two best receivers in the game were playing too.
Yeah,
for the Rams, you had
Puka Nacua
and Jackson
Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, for Seattle. Yeah.
So you had some more dynamic players, but the interesting thing about that game was it was special teams that really decided it. I mean, you had a return guy who muffed one early but managed to get on it, and then later he fell on his back and it bounced off of him.
Yeah, and that's been the one drawback for the Rams in the last couple of years. Is
special teams
how good they are in a lot of areas. They've been very, very poor special teams. And they actually fired the special teams coach like 4 games prior.
Yeah.
But that's, you
didn't work.
You need to be solid in all 3 areas.
Yeah.
Because in close games, those things, like free throw shooting in basketball, they'll eventually bite you if you're not pretty good at it.
Yeah. And so I am curious to see, because the Seahawks also supposedly have a really good defense. And
well, they do, but Matthew Stafford has lit them up.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah. So and maybe that's because Matthew Stafford is just that good.
He is good. Their defense is good, but they're not the 85 Bears either.
No,
they're not. And sometimes it's, defenses look better when they play against bad quarterbacks or things like that. But they're definitely not the 85 Bears. And you can maybe make the argument that New England's all-around defense may be better.
Their pass rush looks better than the Seahawks pass rush. Now the Seahawks secondary looks pretty good. They're all over the place. But I think I
don't think Matthew Stafford would agree with that. 375. New England's got the best cornerback in the game, and forgot his name, but he's the best cornerback in the game.
Yeah,
they never even throw to his side.
Right. I say that, but then again, I think part of that was I don't think the Seahawks got much pressure on Stafford during the course of that game. So, you give a guy like that time to throw to his receivers, and he gets Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua out there throwing to.
Yep.
It's hard to guard those two guys forever. And they've got 2 or 3 good tight ends, for the Rams. So I think that's part of the deal. The Seahawks pass rush is not great, but their secondary is pretty good. But as you were talking about, it's all phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams, but also just in the defense itself, do you have a pass rush that allows your cover men not to have to cover for 5 seconds or whatever. But I do think it's an interesting Super Bowl in the sense that we have a reclamation project at quarterback for the Seahawks in Sam Darnold. I mean, he's been cast aside 3 other times, maybe even 4 other times.
Drafted by the Jets. So
yeah.
He got the Jets experience that no quarterback survives.
No.
Then he signed with the Carolina Panthers. And I don't know if anybody survives that either.
No.
And the best thing that ever happened to him, he got picked up by San Francisco for 1 year.
Yep.
And he got under the tutelage of Shanahan. And that's where I think he regained his confidence. And then went to Minnesota and had won 14 games and threw for right around 38, 40 touchdowns. And they didn't re-sign him because, it's going to probably cost them $35-40 million a year, and they thought they had a rookie quarterback who was ready to go, and J.J. McCarthy, and turns to find out that was a bad decision.
Yeah, it was.
And Seattle took that chance, and he's got them in the Super Bowl. And I just don't buy the narrative. The narrative was he couldn't play. He couldn't play well in big games. Every NFL game, in my opinion, is a big game.
Yeah. I mean, you don't get that many of them.
I mean, it's not, if you're going to get nervous in the NFL, every weekend it's going to be some type of big game. And so he got maybe a monkey off his back with some doubters about could he, come through in the biggest of lights, and he obviously did.
Yeah. I think if there's one other interesting thing.
He's the third overall pick, too, by the way.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he was a big-time prospect coming out of college. But I do think that's a fascinating thing. We have 2 teams here that last year looked like they were going nowhere. one because of the coaching situation, and the other one probably for the combo of the coaching quarterback situation, because Geno Smith was fine, but he obviously wasn't what they needed. And both these teams kind of came out of nowhere. Seattle was better, the last couple of years than New England was. Mm-hmm. But we have two teams in this Super Bowl that I don't know what the lines are, but not many people would have had this matchup in the Super Bowl for this year.
True.
And I think that's one of the fascinating things about this season is.
So it's fascinating about the NFL.
It is.
It happens.
The
NFL, this happens. Never happens in NBA.
Yeah.
And you rarely ever see it in baseball.
Well, the other thing is I think both these teams were 14-3 coming into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So they were obviously two of the top three teams record-wise. Right. It's just that week in and week out they didn't necessarily look like it. Looked like smoke and mirrors in a lot of ways, but maybe they were the two best teams. We just weren't quite aware of that fact. But, here we are, and in a week and a half we'll get to see them play in the Super Bowl, and hopefully it'll be a good one. Meanwhile, we didn't get to talk about the college championship game that was on the Monday, the last time we had a show.
Well, who does? Who did? Because of it gets lost in NFL.
Absolutely. Indiana won the game 27-21. It was actually a good game.
That's another dumb thing with the NCAA, and that's really not the NCAA. That's the networks and
the bowl committee and all that jazz.
They get buried with the NFL.
Yeah, but Indiana ended up winning the game. They got up
16-0.
Yeah, they got up 2 touchdowns. Miami was closer than maybe even I think they were a touchdown favorite. They went
down to the wire.
Yeah,
the quarterback draw that Indiana called about 5 minutes ago when they could have gone for a field goal.
Yeah,
went for the touchdown. That ended up being pretty much the difference.
That's one of those moments where somebody got the picture of him lunging across the goal line, and that becomes the iconic image of a game.
That's right,
and they still exist, and that one was the one for that game.
The call and the execution.
Yeah, because he ran through a couple of tackles and then leapt for the goal line, so it was a heck of a play.
Yes, it was.
It was a great outcome. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. This is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
This is the Brown Sports Bag with James Brown on WCLU.
Welcome back to the Brown Sports Bag, presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. James Brown, John Butler. John, there's college basketball going on, and usually we wouldn't have had a chance to talk about these two games that I wrote down on this thing, but they were fascinating outcomes because one of them was Louisville losing to Duke. I think I put this down wrong. It was 83-52, right? That was the final?
Yes.
I think I put 42 down here, but it probably felt like 42.
83-52.
So... And that game was close at halftime. Duke just ran away from
it was 10 at halftime. It was close with 2 minutes to go into the half. It was a 2-point game, and they got blitzed 8-0, and then just it's the worst. It is the worst performance by Louisville under the Pat Kelsey period.
And they had the point guard back. So
they had the point guard back. He played on the Saturday 2 days earlier. It was the worst effort defensively in terms of rebounding. Louisville was a really good rebounding team. They got demolished on the boards.
Yeah.
They had one center out that plays a lot, but they just didn't compete. They got blown out. No excuses. They were trying to make the excuse at one time. Pat Kelsey had nothing to do with it. They couldn't because of the weather. They had to fly down to Duke on the day of and got like a little shoot around, then just play. After playing on Saturday, but he didn't buy that, and I don't buy it either. They just got blown out. A lot of it was very poor effort defensively on the boards in particular.
Yeah.
Plus, they didn't shoot well. Brown, the point guard, was 1 for 13.
Yeah.
When your best player goes 1 for 13, you're not winning many big games.
No, and then come back. Kentucky had won 5 in a row, and then they got run over by Vanderbilt on Tuesday night.
Not a good day for the Commonwealth. Between Louisville and Kentucky's loss, I think it's about 60 points.
Yeah.
80-52. Louisville got beat by Duke, and then Kentucky lost to Vanderbilt 80-55. I think it's 5 straight losses in Nashville for Kentucky.
Yeah,
and it hadn't been close.
They'll never want to go back.
They got drilled by Gonzaga earlier too, in Nashville, and from the Kentucky perspective, the good news, they'd won 5 straight. The bad news was none in the 5 in a row were top 20, top 25 teams, I don't think.
Yeah, Tennessee was
Tennessee,
when they beat them. Now,
Tennessee
I don't know if they
was.
still
That's
were.
Right. Other than Tennessee.
Yeah.
And, they made several comebacks, but it's hard to come back against a top 20 team on the road.
Yeah,
it's hard
right.
to. I know they did against Tennessee, but when you consistently do that, you're fighting too much uphill. And that game was never close either. Very similar to the Louisville game, except this game wasn't even as close as the Louisville game, actually.
Right. Yeah, Kentucky, they've had some games that they did come back and win, but the games that they've just lost, they have not played well from start to finish.
They get, it's been a terrible it's hard to figure why you get so far behind so consistently.
Yeah.
That's hard to figure, and you can blame the coach, but a lot of it's got to be your players not being mentally ready to play.
Yeah.
There's just so much you can do as a coach, but when and they're seniors too,
right.
outside of a few, to come out and just get blitzed at the start of every game is just, that's just no way that you're going to consistently win that way. It's no way, because you're going to get, they've already had 2 comebacks of double figures this year, maybe 3. And oftentimes you may not go 2 years and get that.
Right.
Comebacks like that. And, if that's going to be a pattern, you're just not going to win that way.
I remember one time, this was years ago, this high school basketball coach, his team was playing in the playoffs, and they came out and they got down 21-2 or something like this. And his team, he had a good team. Mm-hmm. And that was in the first quarter, and they ended up losing the game by 5 or 6. But I asked him after the game, I said, what do you do to get them ready for a game like that? And he just looked at me, he said, it's the playoffs. If they're not ready to play, there's nothing I can do. And I'm sure they prepared the same way they did every time. But, his point was, at some point in time, the players take ownership for how they want to play the game.
And it's going to happen occasionally where you're going to get behind. Another team plays well, you're not making shots. There's going to be different factors, but not consistently that way. If you consistently are down double figures going into halftime most of your games, then you're probably not very good.
That's right. That's right.
So, that's Kentucky's shorthanded, but same basic players played against Vanderbilt that's been playing the previous 5, but just basically a no-show.
Maybe they were concerned about their recent final exams and they'd gotten their exam scores back.
Boy, you don't hear much about academic qualifications anymore, do you? That's gone
irrelevant
out the window completely.
And to that, well, not to that end, but here's something to note: Arizona is 20-0; they're undefeated. Are they the best team in the nation? They certainly look like it every time I see them play.
Probably.
They look really good.
Yeah, they do.
Nebraska's 20-0.
20-1. They got beat last night.
Oh, I missed that one.
Michigan beat them.
And then you have UConn, Michigan, Duke, and Gonzaga all have one loss. I think still. I didn't check their records from last night.
Michigan beat Nebraska at Michigan 3 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looks like, unlike in recent years, this season is shaping up to look like one where there are some teams at the top who are by far the best teams, and then a bunch of everybody else. Is that how it looks to you?
Maybe. We'll see. Arizona's got to prove it to me, and their coach has got to prove it.
Yeah, that's true.
They've had some early flameouts here.
Yeah, they have.
With really good teams.
They've kind of had some flops in the tournament.
That's right. So, we'll have to see. I think UConn is obviously proven. Michigan is one of the best teams I've seen, and so is Duke. I'm not sold 100% on Gonzaga or their schedule. But got a long way to go, and all this will kind of play out. But I think you're starting to kind of see, when you play 20 games, there's a pretty good picture of who you are.
Yeah, that's right. And in the last probably 3 or 4 seasons prior to this one, there have been some teams that have had the records or whatever, but they haven't clearly been the best team. Or there's been kind of a cloud, I think, of teams that are all about the same.
Well, last year's all about the SEC.
Yeah, that's right.
Their conference, the SEC, was – I don't think people were picking Florida to win it this time.
No.
But they were playing in just a great conference last year.
Yeah, the conference schedule was so tough that every night was basically a tournament
night. It was
night.
more last year Alabama, maybe Tennessee, things like that. And Florida was kind of hovering around. But Florida had not proven it under their coach either. And they were incredibly good during the last 6 weeks of the season and ran it all the way to the championship.
Yep. All right, it's the Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be right back.
This is the Brown Sports Bag with James Brown on WCLU.
John, we have some fascinating legal developments in the college sports world.
Fascinating.
Fascinating. I believe we have a former pro player who is now eligible because a judge in Alabama said he's eligible to play for the University of Alabama.
He's got 2 10-day injunctions to let him play. That's
yeah,
right.
so he's signed 2 10-day contracts then, huh?
He has. The NCAA has ruled him ineligible because he played on a NBA roster, right? He was on a 2-way contract, right? I don't know if he ever got an NBA game, but
he ended up playing. I don't think
he started his career at Alabama too.
Yes, I think he ended up playing. I make that joke about the 10-day contracts because I think he was on one of those whatever they call them, USBL teams or whatever. Right. But he got the contract to come play on the NBA team, but I don't think he ever actually played a game.
Yeah. No, and he got shockingly a district judge down in Florida down in Alabama, actually in Tuscaloosa, to give him the right to play. And
they walked across the street to the courthouse and said, "Hey, Judge, can you let this man play?"
And I'd like to see. I think the NCAA is going to fight it. I hope so. Eventually you got to fight something. And,
this seems like
something, and we'll see how it goes. I know there's been kind of some anger going on in the among a lot of the coaches and so forth, thinking this is a little brazen just to add somebody in the middle of the year like that. It's a little bit brazen. So we'll see. By that logic, I guess Jeff Shepard could join Kentucky for a while if they needed him. LeBron he hadn't used any college eligibility.
I was going to say, who's really angry about this is Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, he's got 3 years. Played 1 year at Texas.
Yeah, no, Kevin Garnett, who never played.
Kevin Garnett, okay. Well,
he may be 40 now, but nonetheless, there was a time. There was a time. I remember this. He had lamented the fact that he wished he had played in college because he missed that opportunity.
Well, he can still play if he
wants to.
Guess
what, Kevin? You can go back and do it now. Apparently, if you get a judge to say so.
Right.
And then we have Dabo Swinney is unhappy with Pete Golding at Ole Miss for calling his player.
He should.
A lot of the players sitting in class and asking him, "Hey, how much is your contract with?"
Well, no, they had already gotten a guy out of in fairness to Clemson, they don't get transfer. They don't use the transfer portal. Well, this kid played at Cal last year, and they signed him to an NIL deal, probably worth close to $1 million, a linebacker. Had already enrolled, is already taking classes. And when Ole Miss, and they caught him, Ole Miss was calling him and texting him, and Dabo has the text and everything.
Yeah.
Offering him, more money to come, and the kid ends up leaving. And Dabo, instead of being quiet, he called Ole Miss out, showed the text messages and all that other stuff, and said, what are we doing? This just can't happen. The Duke quarterback who signed a deal to second year to come back at Duke for a couple $1 million. Ends up going to Miami now, breaking his contract.
Yep.
Interconference, just stealing players.
Yeah.
It'd be like, in fairness, it'd be like Dallas Cowboys calling Patrick Mahomes while under contract and just say, "We'll give you more money, come to Dallas."
Yeah.
Of course, you can't do that in the NFL. The NFL won't let you. That's different.
Yeah.
They actually have a governing body that won't let you do that. The NCAA just seems like they can't. And they don't have enough backbone to fight it. If they eventually just got to fight it and just if you go to court and you lose, you go to the next level. You have to take a stand eventually.
Here's what I find fascinating, because there's literally contract law that exists, right? You know this, and that contract law stipulates, because you've signed a contract, the rules of the contract, and if you violate that contract,
you have to pay damages. You can't. Keep them there.
Right. You have to pay these damages.
But doesn't mean that you're allowed to play somewhere else either. If you want to go to school there, fine.
Yeah, so that's what I'm getting at, is that you would think that these contracts have these stipulations in them that would say what is, if you violate this contract, what damages you have to pay. But I guess if Ole Miss or Miami say, well, we're willing to pay the damages for you, then that's kind of what's happening here.
Yeah, as long as the NCAA doesn't rule them ineligible, which they
Right.
should.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because what the NCAA...
Or the ACC, when
Yeah.
it's within their own conference with the Duke football player going to Miami. That's what the ACC should do, but they don't have the guts to do it.
If nothing else...
They don't want to make Miami mad.
Right. If anything else, what the NCAA should be able to do and should do is say, we are the governing body of the college athletics, and you've made a contract deal with one of our members,
schools.
and thereby we're going to hold you to that contract. There is no buyout of the contract, and if you violate the contract, then you've given up your right to play within a window.
That next year, that's right.
Yep. And so even though they may not be willing to fight these eligibility things, this contract law thing might change the leverage, you would think.
You would think.
But also, this tells you just how ridiculous things are when people are like, yes, I know you're under contract. It's essentially like...
It also tells you how bad member coaches and member schools are.
Yes. Well,
for even doing that.
Yeah.
Regardless of whatever the rules or laws are, you still have people willing to break all ethics and whatever. And I think Ole Miss was a school that cried so much over Lane Kiffin.
Hey, they learned the best. They learned the best lessons from Lane Kiffin.
They cried so much how mistreated they were.
Yeah, it's all a farce. It is in essence the man in the bar going up to the woman, seeing the ring on her finger, and saying, "I don't care."
That's right.
Now she should say no as well, but at the same time, you should have enough self-respect not to be that kind of jerk.
Yep.
And these schools don't have that kind of self-respect. These coaches
can't govern themselves.
No, and they're absolutely shameless. We're in the age of absolute shamelessness.
And that's why anarchy doesn't work.
No, you're right. It doesn't. Anarchy only leads to long-term failure.
And chaos.
And if you're happy with that, you might be in the wrong world.
Yep.
All right, this is Brown Sports Bag presented by McDonald's of Glasgow. We'll be back maybe on Monday.
You've been listening to the Brown Sports Bag on WCLU. Be sure to join James and John again next Monday at 4 for another edition of the Brown Sports Bag.